So Jack McCaffrey, good to see you.
Thank you very much. Thanks a million for having me in here.
Yeah, no bother at all. Absolutely. It's you've been away on your travels, so you're back home and feeling good.
Yeah. Just got home there on Friday, and delighted to be back. To be honest, I was fit to come home after the 2.5 months.
Straight back into it, I believe. Club match on Saturday, correct?
Yeah, we had a club game, and actually I was doing a bit of exercise while I was away, and kept myself in somewhat decent shape, but the match fitness left a fair amount to be desired. So looking forward to training this evening. Start to dust off a few cobwebs.
Oh, straight into it. Good man. Yeah, so a nice a welcome back to the old Irish weather. Pissing rain, warm, balmy. And then who were you playing?
We were playing against Skull, so it was I'm with Clontarf. It was a local top of the, Skerries have Division 2 pretty much sewn up, but we're looking for playoff spots, and it was a local derby plus top of the table clash, so good bit of needle to it as well.
Yes. Just to welcome you back.
Just to welcome me back, yeah. As absolutely. You said, the rain as well, from playing beach soccer 48 hours beforehand to running around trying to stay on your feet was a bit of a shock to the system.
Absolutely, I can only imagine. So how does the travels go? Like, I mean, you just when did you leave, and you left what, June, July, was it?
I left at the start of June, and went over with Goal to Ethiopia for a week, which was fantastic, and then I was kind of travelling around on my own for the guts of a month before I met 3 of my classmates, and we did a bit of work in a hospital in Zambia for 3 weeks, and then we did a bit of travelling to sign off on it. So we're about 10 weeks away, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was a really, really good summer.
Yeah, and was it something that you kind of had planned on doing? Obviously you had to plan it this year, but I read you were kind of thinking about it maybe previous to that, because like a lot of fellas, and it happens, I remember same happens to myself, where you kind of see fellas going off on J1s and stuff like that, and you never get the chance to do it, and you kind of said, geez, I would love to go away for a break. Was that something you always had in the back of your mind?
Yeah, well, to a certain extent, going away was something I always had planned, and I toyed with the idea last year, and then eventually kind of came to a head this year, but the Africa side of things probably was kind of cobbled together relatively last minute. I had set my mind that I was going to take a break, and I was probably looking at America more seriously than anywhere else. And then we got a talk in college. I'd been in Africa before with my family a number of years ago. So once the option was available to go there and do a bit of volunteering, and then the travelling that goes hand in hand with that, I was delighted to be able to do that. So it was probably just from the start of 2015, I suppose, that Africa kind of settled in my head.
Yeah. And like, obviously it was very rewarding work and everything else. Like, I mean, it's a massive change, a culture change, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's a completely different system over there, obviously. And, I have 2 years left in college, as do my classmates, obviously. So we weren't a massive help running around the hospital, getting in the way of people who actually know what they're doing. Yeah. But it was good to see how things work in the real world, I suppose. And also we did do a bit of fundraising, and we were able to help in a few minor situations, so hopefully we gave them a bit of a dig out over in Zambia as well. But I'd say it's fair to say that we probably got a bit more out of the deal than the locals would have. Mutually beneficial, we'll say.
Absolutely. So it was obviously a big decision for you, because current player of the year, obviously coming off the success of the last number of years, and then obviously having to go to the likes of Jim and the backroom team, and indeed your teammates, and say, listen, I'm out of here, I'm going away. Did you think long and hard on it? Was it a tough decision for you?
Yeah, it absolutely was, and it was something that I had discussed with my family kind of the year before. And then, as you said, with the Player of the Year award, that was something that never in my wildest dreams did I imagine winning. So that's probably the reason I came back at the start of 2015, because I'd been in Thailand for 3 or 4 weeks. I thought maybe that would satisfy me and I'd get back into the swing of things. But that became very apparent that wasn't the case very quickly. So sat down, talked with the family about it again. Went to Jim, who was very accommodating and very helpful. And then I actually probably took too long to break it to the team is the one big regret I have about the whole thing, because I ended up kind of spilling the beans elsewhere, and news got out via other avenues, which wasn't fair on a Dublin team that were kind of preparing for a long year ahead. So it could have been handled a bit better by myself, but sure, look, it went the way it went, and it's all good now. Yeah,
and it's you spoke there about the Thailand trip and thinking that would kind of satisfy. Was it just Was it an itch you just had to kind of scratch, or was it a thing where you were kind of like, I mean, you've obviously been cocooned in minor setups, underage setups with Dublin, under 21 success, and straight into the senior panel. You've never had a kind of a break, and for a lot of fellas, and obviously going to the right to the end of the season as you've always done, it's been very, very difficult, and very, very difficult, I can imagine, just to kind of get some downtime, So has this been something that, like, as I say, it was an itch you just need to scratch, you just need to get it out of your system, or was it a kind of thing where you felt maybe a little bit kind of hemmed in, and you just wanted to kind of get out there and see a bit more of the world, I suppose?
Yeah, it's interesting. I suppose, yeah, you could say a bit of it was an itch, to use that phrase. I always kind of wanted to go away, and I was going to have to find somewhere and some time to do it, and hopefully at whatever level I'll be involved with football for the rest of my life. So it was going to involve stepping away from that. About being hemmed in, not so much. I've loved every second I've been involved with the Dublin squad since I was 18, and it's been fantastic. There probably was a small bit of kind of getting some alone time, like you mentioned, and it probably reflects more on me than on anything else that I had to go to a different continent to find that. There's a lot of my friends here who are completely outside football and who don't travel at all, and they're very good at just kind of getting a couple of days to themselves and just relaxing, whereas I kind of struggled a bit with that. So
but it's tough, though. Like, it is tough when you're involved with a panel. I remember it myself. Like, you're it's not that you get selfish, but you nearly have to be kind of selfish in a sense of, you nearly have to be kind of, obviously you have to be massively driven and massively focused on what you're trying to achieve and what you have to do to get there. But it can become kind of all consuming. So, it is a different scenario, when you're playing at the highest level like you are.
Yeah, it's funny, that kind of all consuming attitude was definitely something I had in, say, mid 2012 when I got called in, and then 2013, 2014. But in 2015, which was probably my best season, or undoubtedly my best season with Dublin, I made a conscious decision at the start of the year to have a much more relaxed approach to football, and to kind of take a step back from pouring all your energy into it, and every second of the day you're worrying about football, or you're trying to improve as
And why did you do that? What was the kind of catalyst for that?
I suppose at the start of that year I was playing Sigerson, and 2014 hadn't been my best year personally. 2015 I made a very simple kind of goal to play every minute for Dublin. There wasn't any kind of improve your right foot or improve your fitness. It was just, I want to be on the pitch every minute Dublin are playing. And I remember at a Sigerson game on the Wednesday, we played Donegal on the Saturday night, and a Sigerson game the following Wednesday, and Jim left me on the bench for the game against Donegal, and he explained to me that it was because you've X amount of games and resting, but Jesus, I was so annoyed. Like, I got home and I was just, I couldn't even talk to my parents. Like, I had to go out for a walk, and I was really, really pissed off. And then realised that that's kind of a silly way to be, and it's definitely not beneficial to performing well as a player. Yeah. So kind of looked around, and a lot of players have a relaxed attitude towards things. Now, don't get that wrong, that means they're obviously doing all the work and putting everything in, but there's a very healthy knowledge that football isn't the be all and end all. So I just tried to adopt that, and I think it reaped dividends for me anyway. Yeah,
because I think it's maybe an older thing of this banging the table and your eyes bulging out of your head, and you kind of have to be completely focused. And if you're not 100% focused and going absolutely nuts, well then that is the reason why you failed in whatever you're trying to do. And I think you're absolutely right. I think you have to be able to realize that actually, okay, this is a big part of my life, but at the same time, it is still just only a part of my life. And you have to have obviously other interests and everything else going on around it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I suppose the other thing with the way football has gone now, maybe 20, 30 years ago might be different, but you really need a cool, calm, and you need a cool head on you, kind of reacting to how other teams set up and stuff. So if you're too fired up, and I've been there, and I'm sure everyone has, you throw yourself into it, and you're too frantic, too energetic, and the game doesn't go the way you want it to go. But thinking and being a bit relaxed is important now on the pitch. So it probably plays a part as well.
Yeah, because you could kind of see it in you, if you don't mind me saying. Like, you looked like not a free spirit, but you looked like there was a lot less pressure on your shoulders. You know, you were playing with a kind of an ease. You know, you were obviously playing unbelievable stuff, but you were very much in control. And sometimes I think it is that thing where you kind of have to let go a little bit. You have to like lessen control, and not be so obsessed to actually gain more. You know, and be more focused and be more kind of in the zone. Like I saw you saying that you do keepy uppies with Cormac Costello kind of prior to games. Like, you know, there's, you know, you can imagine that 15, 20 years ago in a dressing room. The manager would go absolutely mental, you know. But that's a great way to be, you know, and it's something that I can imagine has obviously massively benefited you for 2015. Was there anything else that you kind of can put your finger on for that year?
Not really on a personal level. I suppose as a team, you know, we were all kind of hurting from the loss to Donegal. And whatever about the loss, just not doing ourselves justice on the day. You know, if Donegal had bet us, and you know they obviously were the better team, but if we had played our best and they were still the better team, more power to them. We, you know, let ourselves down with the exception of one or two players. So there was a big drive to get back to there, and to kind of go out and play as well as we could. Then I suppose there were a few younger players got brought in. Under 21s wasn't there for me, which was a fantastic competition and I really enjoyed playing in. But you know, it does, when you're playing under 21, Sigerson and senior football at the start of the year, you end up, you know, you miss that block of hard training that you kind of have to do in terms of a pre-season, and you're just going from match to match to match, and you're not in the shape you should be, I suppose, coming up to the senior or to the championship time with the senior squad. So the lack of an under 21 team probably helped me a bit, and then the whole team just really being very focused helped everybody.
What was it like that day against Donegal? Like, I mean, you know, because it's great, obviously, as you can imagine, being a Dublin player when you're getting the plaudits, but obviously then if things go wrong, you know, the Dublin supporters, and it's just much the same as most supporters, you know, you can get a hardcore group who are, you know, completely down on the team. And I remember, like, the team came in for a lot of stick, and especially the half back line, you know, because of the way the goals went in. Like, was it something that you just got caught completely off guard, or you know, because at half time it was relatively tight, that game, you know, coming in at half time. There's a few warning signals, but like, I mean, just how was it during that 15-20 minutes at the start of the second half?
Well, I was plonked firmly on the bench at that stage, having allowed Ryan McHugh score 1-1. So it was, you know, as you said, the first half was a bit chaotic. You know, Donegal had their plan set out, and then they had, like, Ryan, for example, who obviously is a household name now, but was probably only coming on the scene then. And, you know, I maybe didn't take as serious as I should have. And, you know, he showed his class and put us to the sword that day. And then, so they, you know, the whole Donegal team, who were an excellent team, played really well. We were probably getting away with a lot in the first half because Paul Flynn and Diarmuid Connolly were kicking scores from everywhere. So, you know, while we were kind of in a close position, we didn't deserve to be there. Probably Donegal deserved more of a lead, and then they just turned the screw in the second half. But it's a very tough thing to watch. You know, the season's work coming to an end, especially in a game like that where, you know, it is, for all intents and purposes, over with 10 minutes left anyway, and you know, the lads on the pitch are still giving their all to try and get scores, but for us who are sitting on the bench, you kind of, you know, the goose is cooked. It was really tough, and, you know, we learned a lot of lessons from it. But
did the favouritism, because I remember going into that, like, you were unbackable, you know, like, I mean, did that at all affect, like, I mean, even your own, like, I mean, you were talking there about your change in mentality, you know, like, was that also part of it? You know, sometimes when you can kind of get too focused, and, you know, you're talking about, listen to people saying, oh, you'll walk over Donegal and all that, and even though you're trying to block it out, it's still getting in there. Like, did that affect it all?
I personally don't think that it did. Jim is very good at and the whole management team at insulating a group against that kind of stuff. I can only talk about myself, obviously, personally, and I'd started in the Leinster final and played all right, and then hadn't been picked for the Monaghan game in the quarterfinal. Came on, I was cat, and then, you know, I got, you know, starting then for the Donegal game, and maybe I personally might have just been a bit too caught up in it all, because I was looking at it as, you know, if we win this, there's an All-Ireland final. I'm by no means nailed on as a
So
starter. I
yeah.
have to play the game of my life. I have to be unbelievable going forward, and blah 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 blah. And that
Pressure.
led to me not doing particularly well. So I don't think that the favouritism thing was a massive impact, to be honest. And it is, you see, it's a very easy thing to point the finger at. But you know, how many times have Dublin been favourites for games and gone out and won them? So you know, it's I wouldn't subscribe to the fact that would be a major factor anyway.
So how have you missed it this year? Like, I mean, you've been looking on, obviously, you know, and been looking on with jealousy, or have you been happy enough to be sitting there watching it in the pubs or wherever you've been watching it?
Yeah, well, I suppose you get so immersed in whatever else you're doing that, you know, the earlier games I wasn't even aware that they were on, probably till, you know, the day they were on, and then my dad would be texting me updates or whatever. It's funny, I suppose, because just prior to leaving I had been playing a lot with the club.
Right,
I was really keeping up to speed with how the club were getting on in every league game and stuff. I suppose the games come more regularly as well, but the Donegal game was the first game that I sat down and got the GA go and watched it, and I was really, really nervous. I kind of wasn't sure. I obviously wasn't here, so I wasn't sure what the preparations were like back home and how people were feeling, and it was great to see the lads go out and perform so well. So you know, the Kerry game it's I'm looking forward to going in and watching it, but it's kind of, there's an ominous silence coming from Kerry. And,
so you will go in and watch it, because I know some lads, like, I mean, you just can't. You know, I know when I retired, I just couldn't go in at Croke Park. I just stayed away for nearly a year. Like, I mean, there's fellas, you get that kind of thing where you just say, oh, I'm just not going to go in, because it's very different being a supporter. You know?
I can imagine, yeah. Well, I suppose, you know, when I was growing up, we used to always just walk along the prom in Clontarf all the way into Croke Park and go in and watch games, and that was a massive part of my childhood. And now I've got like two younger cousins, Dan and Tom, who I'm looking forward to kind of strolling in with them as well. And,
right, very good.
And you know, just enjoying the whole atmosphere. It's funny, my brother Connor was living in Australia for a year there, and he, for his sins, unfortunately looks kind of like me. So he went into the last game at Croke Park, and I was over in Dar es Salaam, and he texted me after saying, what have you done? I can't even walk into Croke Park without people asking me for photographs. You've ruined my life.
I hope he got a few free pints out of it.
I don't think he did. I think he bolted pretty quickly. So
he's got to use that more.
Yeah,
he's definitely got to use that more.
I'm sure he'll take advantage of it up in Coppers at some point.
Absolutely. So the club, like, I mean, to go back to the club, you know, you've seen it probably firsthand more than most. Like, I saw Alan Brogan obviously chatting this year about, you know, Plunketts and going back and the plight of the club player, and you've been kind of there, and it's not like a retired player, do you know what I mean, retired inter-county guy. Like, you're obviously still very much going to be involved, obviously, in the future, etc., etc.
Hopefully.
So yeah, hopefully. But you know, the club's important to you, obviously, massively important to you, but do you see the flaws in it, you know, with how the system is, and, you know, do you feel for the club player, because it is pretty difficult to keep going for you know, 8, 9, 10 months of the year?
Yeah, no, it can definitely be cruel at times. I suppose with Clontarf, we're kind of in a slightly different boat to some of the bigger clubs, in that we're in Division 2, and for us to get promoted would be massive for the club. So the league has more of a focus for us than the championship. So it's not like we're sitting around twiddling our thumbs for the 6 months waiting for a championship game to roll around. We're very much going out to win every game we play. But it's definitely flawed. And the thing about it is, I think Dublin are one of the better counties at it, you know, and having been involved with the Dublin setup the last couple of years, Jim is great at releasing players to play club games as much as possible. But all around the country, from talking to friends from other counties, it's I would say it's an unsustainable kind of system
situation. Yeah,
it's pretty simple. Like 99.9% of Gaelic footballers aren't ever going to play for their county, and they're getting shafted to facilitate the county season. And you know, it's a great, you know, obviously a lot of Dublin club players are Dublin fans as well, and to see the team going so well is a huge source of pride. But if that success ever kind of dips, I'd say cracks might start to appear in the club county relations.
Yeah, and you can see it. You know, you see it in various other counties, and you see it in Meath. You know, where there's nearly a kind of a feeling of when the county, and I've seen it different, when the county gets knocked out, it's like, okay, now we can concentrate in the club, and there's this kind, and there is a dare I say it, there is a bit of a divide, and it's obviously born out of a lack of success recently, and you need that success to be able to say, oh, the system is fine. But if you say that if the success wanes at all, well, then the system starts to be questioned, and to stop that, I feel that they need to actually just, the GAA hierarchy need to do something about it, because as you well know, like Dublin system, you play one championship match, like say Plunkett's did this year, they were bet by Castleknock, and they're gone, and they have to wait till whatever it is, 7-8 months, wait till Dublin are knocked out of the championship to play another game. It's ridiculous. No,
and I agree with you 100% that I think it has to come centrally from the GAA, because one of the biggest roots of frustration is counties that the club is treated very badly, and look across the way at another county and their friends are playing away, and they see that it can be done differently and it can be done better, and why aren't they doing it better? So I think it does have to come from a central decision and it's just a simple matter of prioritising club players, because the GAA are fantastic. All the money that comes in Croke Park and all the money that comes in from various revenues all goes back to the clubs, and I think it's a really, really special organisation for that. But I'd imagine at this stage clubs would rather a bit more of a regular season and a bit less cash coming in, or whatever. I haven't really thought about it too much. I don't know what the solution is, but I do think that there's so many people changing the rules, bringing in black cards and talking about marks and stuff, when I think this is a far, far bigger issue than defensive systems in intercounty football, for example. It's definitely should be moved up the priority list a little bit. Absolutely,
because as you say, it's the mainstay, and it's the 99.9% of the players, and these guys eventually become the county players, the intercounty players, But it's just to bring it back to, you touched on Jim a bit. Obviously, he's been there, a manager for you for a long, long time. With all the underage success, etc. So it's you owe him a lot. How was that going to him and telling him you were hitting the road? Did you know Rory was going at the same time? Because it's a big loss for him. Two of his mainstays of his defensive six being taken out.
Rory had been gone for a couple of weeks before I eventually made my mind up, and then when I did go to Jim, it was tough, but Jim has always kind of preached that football has that place in your life, but it's not the be all and end all, like we kind of spoke about earlier. So I suppose it was actually a good thing that I'd been under him for so long, that I could go to him, have a cup of tea, chat to him, and he just kind of talked through it like a mate, and said, "Are you sure this isn't just you're frustrated at the minute, or you're fed up at the minute?" And advised me to kind of go off, think about it a bit longer, talk to someone else, talk to a few of the more senior lads. And then once he was kind of happy that I wasn't just in a weird mood and had my mind made up, he shook my hand and said, "Best of luck." And
way with you.
Then he went back obviously to doing what he has to do, which is getting the team as best prepared as possible, and he's doing a fantastic job again.
He didn't say, "I'll see you in the for the semi-final in August."
No, I'm still waiting on that phone call.
So like Brian Sheehan, suppose you're going to play in goal, you're not going to be all of a sudden running out onto Croke Park on Sunday.
No, not that I'm aware of anyway. I'm looking forward to going in and watching the game, and I'm not sure if that Brian Sheehan thing will materialise either, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely. Well, that's typical Kerry smoke signals just being sent out there. So what do you think? Do you think just rolling on to Sunday? What do you think? What are the chances? Now you can say this now as a man who isn't involved.
The loop.
Exactly.
Bit,
you can be impartial.
Yeah, well, I think that if Dublin go out and play as best they can, hopefully they'll see them through to a final and a showdown with Mayo. So if that happens, that happens. But Kerry are obviously going to be thereabouts right until the very end, like they always are. So if there's any kind of off day in the Dublin camp, and if Kerry kind of find another gear that they apparently haven't had this year, it's going to go right down to the wire. So as I said, I've been away. I haven't really been keeping an eye on all the other championship games, and even Dublin's games. I've only seen Donegal. So
it must have been strange for you though. To kind of miss all that, and after obviously being player of the year, etc., and being so immersed in it. it must have been a strange feeling, or did you
Yeah,
just
it
kind of
was.
did you just roll with it? Like, did you just kind of say, well, listen, I've made my bed and that's it?
Well, I suppose there was a bit of that, but no, it was definitely strange. You find yourself kind of sending good luck texts to the lads, and that would have been you the year previous. But I really really enjoyed my time away, and it was something I'd never done before, obviously, and there wasn't any kind of stage when, even on match days, when I was like, well, obviously I wish I was there, but I wouldn't trade the summer I had for it, to be perfectly honest. And I know, there's a lot of members of the Dublin team who've been playing for a lot longer than I have, but I suppose myself and Kieran and Mannion and a few of the guys from the class of '93, for want of a better term, kind of came straight in. We were the first group through development squads and stuff, so we've been pretty much involved in it since we were 14, 15, and we never got, a lot of the lads playing with Dublin would have done J1s and done X, Y and Z before being called in, so it was great to kind of get that balance, and please God there's plenty of football left in me, so I won't regret the decision.
So you've scratched the itch, shall we say?
For the moment, yeah.
For the moment.
Oh, I really enjoyed it, and there's no two ways about it. I'm absolutely going to go travelling again at some point when college, and I've 2 years to finish, and then at least a year's work before you're kind of through the medicine pathway. And then at some point I plan on just taking a full calendar year and going around it. I really really enjoyed it. So
that's great. You seem like a guy. Yeah, you seem like a guy to me. And maybe I'm wrong here, and you can obviously tell me if I'm wrong, but you seem like a fella who obviously you play football for the enjoyment of the football. I don't think you necessarily play it for to win things. I think would that be a fair assessment?
Yes and no. I hate losing. Like, it's really. I remember crying out in Malahide after St Sylvester's beat us in an under 13 Division 2 game or something. So yeah, I love playing football, and it is my main motivation is the enjoyment I get, but the enjoyment I get is pretty intrinsically tied to winning. There's winning, a bit of that competitor in me. But it's there are probably a few players who play kind of and keep an eye on the rich past that Dublin have and the legacy that is being left and stuff, and everybody motivates themselves differently. But I've always just kind of done it for the buzz of winning and the buzz of playing with a great bunch of lads, which Dublin are lucky enough to have at the minute, and just enjoying myself and my friends. So that will be my primary motivation. All right,
yeah, good stuff. So what's the plan? What's the next? So obviously back into college, and you're going to eventually get the stripes.
Jeez, hopefully, yeah. So if all goes well, there's 2 years of placement pretty much left, and in the Mater mostly for me, and then you kind of work as an intern for a year through various rotations, and then you're registered with the Irish Medical Council, and then you're into the big bad world and paying taxes and bills and X, Y and Z. So it's
helping the economy.
And robbing everything I can as well. But it's interesting. I saw while I was away that Jerry McEntee is now involved with the Meath selection panel, and I may or may not end up under him for a couple of weeks in the Matter. So that'll be an interesting little group dynamic. But,
absolutely, yeah. I can imagine shoulders now in the canteen. Jerry be testing you out.
That wouldn't go well for me, unfortunately. No, it's great. We're kind of finished with the lecture hall situation and sitting in UCD for the last 4 years, which obviously you need to do. But I'm really looking forward to getting out into the big bad world and getting my hands dirty.
Yeah, and Clontarf, what are the aspirations this year?
This year, so we're in the hunt for playoffs. I think we're guaranteed playoffs now, but we've 2 league games left. If we come second, obviously you're given home advantage. To get to Division 1 would be the ultimate achievement. Yeah. We have Jude's in the championship, which they'll be favourites to win, but we'll go out and give it a good cut. And Clontarf are in a really exciting place at the minute with some really good teams coming up underage. So I'm really, really looking forward to the next couple of years on that front, as well as hopefully getting back involved with the county setup. Yeah, good stuff. Well, best of luck with it, and very much.
I hope there's many good days ahead of you.
Hopefully, against Meath.
We'll cut that. We'll definitely edit that one. Anyway, Jack, great chatting to you, and
thank you very much.
I suppose before we let you go, we have our quizmaster Conor Neville, who is making a bit of a name for himself in the last number of weeks. He poor on Michael Lister last week.
I heard about this.
Yeah. Michael actually got in contact with me after the RTE were actually thinking of retiring Michael after because they felt that his performance was so poor. But I just explained to them that Connor's questions were just,
difficult.
Yeah. Like he's been easy on Bernard Brogan. He's been very tough on poor old Matty Ford. Very easy on Bernard. I think it's a Dublin thing. I think it's actually I've worked it out.
That bodes well.
Yeah,
that bodes well.
It does bode well. Yeah. So without further ado, we'll get the man in and let him throw a few questions at you.
Looking forward to it.
So Connor, take it away.
Before I do, was I accused of Dublin bias there?
You certainly were.
This is the first time this has ever been said of me.
Well, it might be Brogan bias then. Maybe we'll see now.
Dublin
bias,
hopefully.
Yeah. This is it's going to be. This is going to be the acid test.
I'm sorry, I was surprised to learn that you had been on to RT. Michael Lister set new standards for terribleness in this quiz.
About to be set again
for Pat Spillane.
I
think he
only
only
knows the
knows
answer to one of the questions.
He only got that one wrong.
I think that was the one he decided to go for Joe Brawley. I thought you said I kept that saying Pat Spillane. Okay, now we'll move on. Can you state your name, please?
Jack McCaffrey.
Jack McCaffrey, your specialist subject, which we have chosen for you, is Dublin's 2016 championship season.
Excellent.
Question 1. Who lined out for Dublin at left half back against Donegal, the same position that Jack McCaffrey played in last year's All-Ireland final?
Now
He'd some game as well, if you don't mind me saying.
well, is this like I thought John Small was man of the match myself, but I know there was talk of Kieran lining out somewhere back. John Small final answer.
Correct.
Inexplicably, I might add, but anyway.
Question 2. How many goals have Dublin conceded so far in this championship?
2.
Incorrect. 3. Question 3. Of whom did Jim Gavin say, he's a mentally tough guy. His situational game is very good. He's very strong and intelligent on the ball.
Jack McCaffrey?
John
Kieran Kilkenny, I would like to say.
No, the answer is John Small.
God.
I think Connor's trying to paint a picture here for you, Jack.
Right.
I'm
not welcome back in the panel. Fair enough.
Question 4. Is Dublin's margin of victory greater at this point of the season than it was at the same stage last year? Yes or no?
No.
Correct. They have a 10-point margin of victory so far this year on average. 17 points last year. So the Pack are coming back, clearly.
Yeah.
And finally, doesn't quite relate solely to the championship. But
Here, this is
who were the only
illegal.
team to beat Dublin in 2016?
Mayo?
Longford.
Oh, the O'Byrne Cup. Correct. Liam Connaughton
I know it's
flew
correct.
back early from Thailand. He was there with me to score a goal to win it. So
See?
I should have known that, unfortunately.
So, Jack McCaffrey, you scored, I believe, 2 out of 5?
Correct.
Which is 40%, which is a pass. So I'm happy.
Well, it is, strictly speaking, it's a pass.
It is a pass.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I forget. We have to log the stats. I mean, it's obviously after Michael Lister. It's a relief to get someone who knows a couple of answers.
Yeah. Michael is still propping it up there, and it's not a Dublin bias. It must just be a Brogan bias, because I have to say that was tricky. for
I
Jack.
reject
Jack
this
is being-
insinuation that I had any sort of bias whatsoever. I mean, Bernard Brogan only got 2 out of 5, or maybe 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
I think Johnny Doyle. I mean, if anything, I've a Kildare bias going on here.
Well, yeah, but Johnny is probably one of those like he just has an encyclopedia,
Yeah.
on various different things. Jack has been playing beach volleyball or beach soccer, chilling out, drinking bottles of Corona, summering well, wintering well, and playing obviously, and focusing on the championship, upcoming championship
I
for the
asked
club.
Bernard Brogan Jr. About county grounds that aren't Croke Park. So I mean,
Which any Dublin player worth his salt should know.
should know, shouldn't
Yes.
know. I would have thought. So I mean, I do try and pick some subjects.
I
that
like
might,
the way you
that
got
might
the
stymie
Longford
people.
question in.
Yeah,
That was well done.
Liam
It's
is going to
just-
slag
it's
me
a
for that
fact.
one
It's
wrong.
an
Yeah.
interesting.
It is an
trivia.
interesting fact. Yes. Well, listen, Jack. Excellent. Well done.
Thank you very much.
And I really appreciate that. That was a great chat. And as I said, best of luck for the year ahead.
Thanks,
and
guys.
the years coming through that.
Cheers. Thank
Thanks
you
a
very
lot.
much for having me.
Cheers.